Which, after the 4th unit, what do you think is going to happen?
Midterm.
We're going to get a midterm. Whoa, yeah, right? That's what I'm saying. That means our quarter's almost over. You're almost a quarter of the way through the school year already. Yeah. So, hey, guys, let's listen up. So here's what we're going to do. Today's our last day of notes. We have like almost, I think, 2 or 3 review days between now and the test. So we're either going to test on Thursday or Friday. Once I know for sure, I will let you know. All right? So let's plan for Thursday, and if it ends up being Friday, we get an extra review day in there. All right, so our last day of notes, though. We're talking about compound interest. Interest paid on previously earned interest. Right? Every time it compounds, we earn more and more money. So we do have a new formula, because we're talking basically strictly with money. We're talking about compound interest. Our new formula, A equals P times 1 plus R over N to the N times T power. Hey, deep breath. It's a lot like the ones we did on Friday. Promise. Alright? A is the amount we want it to equal. It's just like Y in the growth rate formula. P is your principal. What the principal is, it's the amount of money you start with. So it's just like A from that growth rate formula. It's still the initial amount. What you're beginning with still goes in front there. And then 1 plus R, which is your rate. Same thing, we're writing it as a decimal. Over N, which is the number of times we compound per year. To the N times T power, which T is still time. Now, we will use this formula when it says compounded in the problem. If it doesn't say compounded in the problem, we're using growth rate or decay rate. Alright, when it says compounded, we are using this formula. And like I said, this formula will be given to us on the test, just like growth and decay were. But it's a lot like it. We're still starting with our initial amount. We have our rate, we have our time. Now we're just adding in our compounding. So if you look down here, the payment period, if it says compounded annually, that means it's once per year, and that means N would equal 1. If it's semi-annually or biannually, it would be twice per year, or N equals 2. Yes, sir?
Is that payment period going to be on the test?
Will this be given to you on the test? No. So you gotta know, but think about it. Semi-annually, that means it happens twice. Annually, that means once per year. Like something happens annually, it's a 53rd annual, whatever. That's once per year. Quarterly, 4 times per year. So N would equal 4. Monthly, 12 times per year. So N would equal 12. Daily, 365 times per year. So N would equal 365. These are the only ones we're going to use though. Like you're not going to see anything besides those 5 right there. So if you can't remember how many days are in a year, or how many months are in a year, then you might have issues. But quarterly happens 4 times a year, semi-annually twice, annually once. Yes, Sim?
What's T?
T is time, right? Just like it was before, it's a time period. So if we say it's happening over 4 years, T would be 4. All right? And I know we wrote all these down in those blanks that we gave you perfectly spots for. Right, so I'll give you about another minute to write that stuff down, and then we'll get going on some problems. I think we have 4 problems to do. 2 will be easy, 2 will be a little more difficult. You will need your calculator today, so I'd get it out. I gotta get my calculator out. Are we ready? Should we try some? Yes? No? Yes? No? Sweet. I'm glad you all said yes.
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 Alright, example 1. $100 invested at 4% compounded quarterly, right? That tells me I'm using the compound interest formula. If it doesn't say the word compounded in the problem, we are not using this formula. For 2 years, what amount will the result? Well, what is my principal? What am I starting with? How much money am I starting with? $100. So your initial amount or your principal is 100. What is the rate that I'm using? My interest rate? 4%. So how do I write that?
0.04.
0.04. Good, right? We want to write it as a decimal. Alright, what is my time period? What is my t?
2.
2 years. And lastly, what we need to talk about is n. Compounded quarterly. So n is going to equal 4.
What does the compounding part mean?
So what compounded means is, so say you have $100 in your bank account, right?
Yeah.
They take that interest, 4%, and they add it into your account. So now you have $100 or $104 or whatever. Whatever 4% works out to be. Right? $4. Then they compound on that again. In another quarter, they're going to take the interest rate on it again. So you get 4% of whatever's in there at that time. And that happens 4 times throughout the year. So they keep compounding it. Alright?
Alright.
So now I'm plugging this into my equation. A equals my principal, which is $100, times 1 plus my rate, 4% over n, which is 4, to the n times t power, to the 4 times 2 power. And what we're going to do is we're going to plug it all into our calculator at once. Now, I will do it on mine so you can follow along as well. We need to be really careful we put this in our calculator. Some calculators are great and will do it with orders of operation by itself. Some won't. So what I would say you should do, we go in here, we do 100 times 1 plus, and I'm going to use another set of parentheses for my division. 0.04 divided by 4. Parenthesis, parenthesis, because I want to close both sets of parentheses. Then to the, and like the newer calculators, you can just put 4 times 2 because it pops up here. The older calculators, in parentheses, 4 times 2 power. Then hit enter. Right? If you use these older calculators, can I borrow this for a second? And you don't do your exponent in parentheses, it's going to raise it to the 4th power, and whatever you get for that, then it's going to multiply that whole thing by 2. So you need to make sure you put your exponent in parentheses at the end there, and it should give you the right answer. So I think everyone should be doing this in their calculator right now, making sure they get the same answer as me, so we know how to use our calculators. Yes, sir?
Instead of saying 4 times 2, can't you just say
You could use 8, yeah. Sometimes we get some bigger numbers in there though, like when we have like compounded 365 times, and then you probably just want to put that in. But yeah, if you know it's going to be 8, put 8 in there.
I've got an error.
Yeah, Aaron, it's Jesse. So what happened here, sir, is you have parentheses in front of decimal. So you have 2 sets of parentheses here, we're only 1 on this side. So you have a parenthesis 0.04 divided by 4. Okay? Did we all get that answer? Alright, so how should I write my answer, Baker?
Like 2 places that way, is it money?
Yeah, it's money, right?
2 places after.
So 2 places after would be $108.29. Approximately $108.29. Alright? Should we try another?
Yeah.
Example 2. What amount will result of $600 is compounded daily? So that tells me I'm using my compound interest formula at 5% for 3.5 years. Well, my initial amount, my principal is what?
600.
600. My rate, what's my rate going to be? 0.05, right? It's 5%. My time period? 3.5. And what does n equal? How many times am I compounding it?
365.
365, right? Daily. Okay. I'm going to take all that information, plug it into the formula. A is going to equal 600 times 1 plus 0.05 over 365 to 365 times 3.5 power. Right? A equals the principal times 1 plus the rate over the number of times I compound. The number of times I compound times time power. Then you can go ahead and you can put that in your calculator. So I'll do it with my calculator again. 600 times 1 plus, and then in parentheses, 0.05 divided by 365 to the 365 times 3.5 power. And you should get the same answer as me. So if you don't have all the parentheses with the newer calculators, they'll do the order of operations for you. So like, but one like Evan's calculator might not. So he's got to make sure he's got those parentheses in there, or like your calculator. Double check that you can put it in your calculator correctly, that you know how to put it in your calculator.
Question. Does this work too?
Wow. Well, what's 5 to the 4th? So what that does is it takes 5 to the 4th, and then it gives you your answer, and then multiplies it by 2.
Oh, so
But we want 5 to the 8th, which is different, right?
that.
Yep, so 4 times 2, which is a totally different number, right? So that's why like yours, you need to put those parentheses in there.
Okay.
Okay? Alright, did we all get that for an answer? $714.74?
No.
No.
No, I got it.
Oh, did you get it or not get it?
I got it.
You got it?
Yeah, I got it.
Alright, we got it. $714.74. Sweet. Okay, any questions? Those were the 2 easy problems. We're gonna have 2 more, a little more difficult problems now, okay? Alright, example 3. Find the principal needed to have $1,500 if the interest is compound monthly, 5.25% for 4 years. Alright, what are we told in this problem?
So what?
What do we know? What are they telling us? What are some things I can write down that I know?
E equals 1,500.
You sure? It says find the principal. So that means we don't know P, right? Find the principal means P is an unknown. It's X. Okay, what else am I told? No one knows. Baker?
The amount is 1,500.
The amount, the A value, the amount we want to get to is going to be 1,500. Right? We want to get to there. We need to find how much we start with. All right, what else are we told? There should be 3 other things you can pull from this.
The rate,
The rate. What's the rate, Jay?
0.055.
0.0525. Good. 5.25%. Awesome. What else am I told? 2 more things.
The time.
The time. What's the time, Sam?
4.
4 years. All right, one more thing I need to know.
Number of times.
Number of times we're compounding it, right? In this case, monthly, so that is 12. Good. All right, I'm going to take all those values, plug them in. Right? A equals, so 1,500 equals my principal, which is X. Guys, if you want to leave it as a P for a variable, I don't care, that's fine. I just need a variable there. Times 1 plus my rate divided by the number of times I compound. The number of times I compound times time power. Can't just plug this in our calculator now, though. Right? How are we going to solve for X? Let me ask you this. If I gave you 1,500 equals X times 25, how would you solve for X? You would divide by 25, right? This is X times some number. So can we just divide by some number?
Yes.
Yeah, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to put this part in our calculator and find out what it is so we can divide 1,500 by it to solve for X. So we divide both sides by it. So if we do that, 1 plus 0.0525 divided by 12 to the 12 times 4 power. We should get 1.233113116.
Yes.
Did you all get that?
Yes.
Do not round it. Do not round it. What we're going to do, if you look at our problem here, we're going to divide by 1.23 dot dot dot. Right? And if you actually go in your calculator, there's this really cool button where if I want to do 1,500 divided by this number, I can hit second and then the negative sign, and it pulls this answer down here to divide it for me, so I don't have to round. And that'll give us our answer. Alright? That way we're not rounding. You should not be rounding at that point, because I bet it'll give us a different answer if I do 1,500 divided by 1.23. Right? That's different. Right? If you write this on a test, it's wrong. We aren't rounding here. Right? Make sure you're using the correct number. Okay? Cool? $1,216.43 is what we need for our principal. I forgot, what was it? 1, 2, 16, 43 cents. All right, any questions? All right, last one's the hardest of the four. All right, there's not a lot of room on your paper, and I apologize for that.
Okay.
If you need to use the room on the side on top, or if you need scrap paper, you can grab a piece, because there's going to be a little more writing with this one. Find the interest rate needed to double your investment if it's compounded quarterly for 6 years. All right, what do we know? What are they telling us? What is the information that we are given? Matt, what's one thing we're given?
The years.
The years. How many years are we given?
6.
6. T equals 6. Emily, what's another thing I'm given? Yeah. What? Anything from the problem. What are they telling us?
I got you.
Anything. Compounded quarterly, which means how many times are we going to compound it? 4 times. Good. N equals 4. Cam, did you have another one?
You need to find the interest rate.
We need to find the interest rate, so our R is our X value. Right? Or you can leave it as R if you want to use R as a variable. That's fine as well. Alright? What else do I know? Sim.
To find the interest rate, you need to double your investment.
Double your investment. So, if that's my principal and my amount, do they give me a principal and an amount? No. But they tell me I need to double it. Right? So I can pick any 2 numbers I want, as long as my amount is double my principal. Carlina, pick any number you want for the principal. 7. If the principal is 7, what does our amount have to come out to be? 14. It's going to be double. Right? If you use 10,000, your amount would have to be 20,000. If you used 1, your amount would have to be 2. It doesn't matter, because when we solve it, we're all going to get to the same spot. We're all going to get the same answer. Alright? So, let's put this into our formula. A equals 14 equals 7 times 1 plus my rate, which is X, over 4. How many times I'm compounding? To the 4 times 6 power. Right? A equals P times 1 plus R over N to the N times T power. Good. First step to solving for X. We're going to divide by 7. Right? Those will cancel. 14 divided by 7 is 2. 1 plus X over 4 to the 24th power. I just did 4 times 6. It's 24. Okay? Now, no matter what amount you started with, no matter what principal you started with, you should all be at the same spot now. And we should all have this same thing. Now I gotta keep trying to solve for X. It's to the 24th power, so how do I undo that? How do I get that away? How do you undo the 24th power? Not a square root, right? If we have a square root, take the square root, but we're going to take the 24th root. Right? We've got to undo that exponent by using a radical. So we're taking the 24th root of both sides. Now, don't put it in your calculator yet, because we don't want to round yet. So the 24th root of 2 equals 1 plus X over 4. Right? I take the 24th root, the radical, and the exponent cancel. What else do I have to do to solve for X? How do I undo my adding of 1? Subtract 1. The 24th root of 2 minus 1 equals X over 4. Be very careful. This -1, this -1, does not go under that radical. Alright? It does not go under the radical. It stays separate. And the last thing I need to do here to solve for x is what? Yeah. Multiply by 4 on both sides. So once you plug this into your calculator, it should give you x. Now, the way I would do it, and the way I would advise you to do it, you don't have to, you can put it all in at once, but I would take it piece by piece. I would go in the same order as what I did on my paper. I would go to math, if it'll work. Maybe not, maybe. There we go. Go down that x root, right? If you go to math, the fifth one down, I want the 24th root of 2. And then I'd hit enter. And then we said we're going to subtract 1. So -1. Enter. Then we said we're going to multiply by 4. Times 4. Enter. You get 0.117208946. But is that a good answer for a rate? No, how do we normally get our rates? As percentages, right? We change them to decimals. So in this case, when we're looking for a rate, we're going to change it back to a percent to answer the question. So if I change it to a percent, what are we going to get? 0.117208. If I change any of that to percent, round to the nearest tenths place. 11.7%, right? You could just multiply by 100. 11.7%. Alright, any questions? So you may not just be plugging it into the formula. It may be, hey, we got to solve for the rate, or we got to solve for the principal. We will never have to solve for the time, though. Alright? Any questions? Cool, subscribe.